Welcome to another episode of the Jersey Oddcast with Joseph F. Bernardo, Gabriel J. Donio, and me, Gina Rulo. What's happening, fellas?
Seems like it's been a bit of a busy week.
Yeah, nice getting into that spring weather. I hope this week should be nice.
Oh, I love that. Starting seeing people planting flowers, remulching their lawns. It's a good sign.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have quite a bit to talk about. Why don't we dive in? Gabe, you have a release from the prosecutor's office, I believe?
Yeah, we had a situation where on April 3rd, 2025, Patrick Chaft, 54 of Mount Laurel, New Jersey, pleaded guilty in front of the Honorable Bernard E. Delury Jr. to first-degree robbery. This is according to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office. His plea calls for a recommended sentence of 5 years in New Jersey State Prison with a requirement that he serve 85% of his sentence before he's eligible for parole, followed by a term of parole supervision following his release. On February 24th, 2024, according to the prosecutor's office, the victim was sitting in his car at the Goodwill parking lot in Hamilton, New Jersey, when the defendant approached him asking for a ride to Camden. The victim refused, and the defendant proceeded to enter his vehicle and start to drive off. When the victim attempted to stop him, the defendant proceeded to forcibly push him out of the vehicle. The vehicle was later recovered in Camden County. Further investigation determined the defendant was the individual who took the victim's vehicle. So sentencing is scheduled for May 20th, 2025, and Assistant Prosecutor Jasmine Ostrow represents the state in this matter, according to the prosecutor's office.
Thank you, Gabe. That's a discouraging level of crime to hear about in Hamilton, which is known to be a safe community and that this kind of behavior doesn't normally happen here.
I
But I'm glad
can't
it's a quick resolving.
yeah,
Resolved. Quickly resolved.
I can't remember the last carjacking in Hamilton, if ever. This is not a common crime in the town of Hamilton by any stretch.
Now, when you're on the White Horse Pike area, sometimes it's a little more transient. Certainly 54 through the downtown is somewhat transient too. But I think some of this stuff, it seems to me like it's not, when you look at it, the gentleman's from Mount Laurel. It's not necessarily local people doing these types of things. But it did happen in the municipality.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out there when you've got your car, or just make sure you're aware of your surroundings.
Fair enough. I also read online that a new environmental firm is coming to downtown Hamilton. It is coming to what Gabe and I call the Kashan building on 3rd Street next to the Hamilton Baptist Church. Joe, do you call it the Kashan building?
No, I call it the building with the really cool point on it. I know that's where the Kashana Agency was for decades, but it's got really nice. I
Isn't
don't
that the
know.
one next to it that has the point?
I think that's Ideal Bakery you're thinking of.
I
The point.
I thought, according to the release, no, this is. Oh, I'm thinking of the point on the roof, not Ideal Bakery, where it's got the point at the opening, where there's a right beneath the roof line. There's like a pointed. Not really, it's more permanent than that, but it's nifty.
Well, when I say an awning, I mean like an awning style cornice. It's like a cornice.
Cornice, thank you.
But it's like that, more closer to mid-century modern style.
Yeah. So somewhere in between Art Deco and mid-century modern. Yeah, but I don't call it the Kashan building, but I just that one in there.
Okay, 11 South 3rd Street, and 800 square feet is being rented by a California-based tenant, Lava Remedial Services, and they're going to use the space to house its new East Coast division as it looks to better serve clients in the region, according to a news release. And again, Ken Richardson and Vantage Commercial helped bring the deal together. And it's just a nice environment, an office space use in downtown Hamilton. It's possibly new tenants that will utilize and see restaurants and other businesses in the downtown as they do their normal business. And again, more traffic downtown is always a good thing.
Yeah, and it's a feather in the town's cap that you've got this firm from 3,000 miles away that chose Hamilton for its East Coast base of operations.
How cool would it be if they were from Hamilton, California? Just saying.
From west to east, Hamilton to
Yeah,
Hamilton.
I don't think they are.
It's nice to see that building again filling up and being used. What you want in your downtown area is as few vacancies as we possibly can have.
And
Yeah.
Gabe, if their employees are looking to move to Hamilton, what realtor should they call?
That's an easy answer. And I think if you are looking for your next property buying, selling, if you're looking to buy or sell your home or commercial property in South Jersey, call Phil Carr, owner of Crowley and Carr Real Estate. Crowley and Carr is the best place in town to find the best place in town. Call them at 609-561-0505 or go to Facebook or Instagram.
Thanks, Gabe. I appreciate that. Springtime, we're all driving more, we're all outside more. We're just doing more things downtown and around Hamilton and around South Jersey. But let's focus in on Hamilton. What roads do you think town council should prioritize this year and maybe into the coming years? Is there any roads that you feel, oh, we really need this done?
I don't know about you two, but I have been saying that West End in between 12th Street and Orchard needs to be repaved, and I've been saying that for years. And it's my hope that maybe once they're done moving in the heavy equipment for the Pleasant Street Station development, that maybe they'll actually get around to repaving that, because it's been patched and it's been patched and it's been patched, and it's like driving in Old City Philly over the cobblestones. It's absolutely terrible.
But not intentionally.
Yeah.
And I would dovetail off that Joe's right about 12th Street to Orchard. I just keep going. I would go down West End to 13th Street, because if you're going to do, and certainly one could argue that you got to finish that project first, but I think the whole street needs to be redone just to finish it off.
Oh, absolutely. I know they're going to be widening West End as part of the project, so I hope that paving project includes the entire strip. You're 100% right. The whole thing, there's no reason to stop and say Pleasant or Jacobs. Just keep on going. You're talking about 4 blocks.
And is that a town road, or is West End, where is
Town.
that?
Absolutely.
It's a municipal street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one that I think is critical to do. And I don't know. I think that we need to look over off of Egg Harbor Road at sort of the Cherry Streets and the Maples and Peach, and just take a serious look at when is the last time we paved those streets. I think some of them have not been touched in quite some time. So I would look at those streets and see if there's a way to get them cleaned up and either resurfaced or repaved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see Maple Street. I use that way to go from from Egg Harbor Road to Central Avenue often, and I would love to see that one done. I would also say possibly North Street near the elementary school might be one that should be considered.
Yeah, North Street, they'd been talking about that for a while, as I understand, and that needs it 100%. Same with, I always get them confused. That's Walnut, the next one up,
Back over
right?
there, yeah, and
Yeah.
that ties into Old Forks Road
Yeah.
and the high school.
Yeah.
And Walnut's seen a tremendous amount of housing
Construction.
growth.
Yeah,
So
in the new housing section, Walnut is nice. If you're going from Old Forks towards 3rd Street, once you get past 4th Street, that road needs to be done. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll hear these discussions come up at a next council meeting, and where they say, "Hey, we're going to do these projects this year." I know our town tends to pave right before election season because they want the good karma for it. But at this point, we really need to consider it. And it's been a while, I think, since we've taken a massive road project.
Yeah, it's been several years. I know 4 or 5 years ago, there were quite a few that they did the mill and overlay, or they resurfaced the microsurfacing,
Yeah.
and there were like 6 or 7 or 8 that they attacked all in one year, and that was great. And I don't know if there was any sort of road program in the last year or two. I know they've been slowly working on Old Forks Road, putting in new utility lines and so forth. And the plan, once that's done, is to resurface. But to just go and fix a road, it's been a while since we've had a road program.
Yeah, and I know Bellevue Avenue is in the works, but that's a state road, and there's other county roads that are gonna be done. But our local roads, we need some attention on some of them.
Yeah,
One
agree,
of my
absolutely.
favorite road projects, this is a million years ago, was when they did Second Street heading towards Winslow that way. I don't know, would that be north? I guess maybe. And they did this probably 25 years ago. And I used to, when I couldn't sleep at night, drive around town. And when they redid Second Street, it was so smooth. And you could
Second,
pick
Do you
up.
mean Second Road?
Second
No, I
Street
mean Second Street.
in the middle of town?
Yes. This is 25 years ago. Do you remember? I even wrote a column about it.
I remember you driving around, but Second Street, you mean between Fairview Avenue and 54?
Yeah. And it
Or
was
beyond 54, I
yes,
guess.
it was such a difference.
Huh.
But that was a really nicely done repaving project, in my opinion. At least for the car I was driving at the time, it felt much better. Again, I was just out of college, driving nothing great. So, something Second Street now has a new attraction on it that we should all go to check out, and that's a new mural. Hampton has a few nice murals, but this is a new one behind the new urgent care. Have either of you seen it in person other than online?
I've seen it.
I have not seen it in person. I was just made aware of it, I believe, yes, 2, 3 days ago.
What do you think?
It's based on a large. It's the back of the whole wall, overlooking a parking area behind the Cape Regional Urgent Care. That's new there at the corner, and we've talked about before. This adds a dimension to it that we've seen with other murals behind, say, a Hamilton Bagel Cafe and that sort of thing. It's a postcard from what looks to be the late 1800s, and it might be from the early 1900s, and it's Bellevue Avenue at Egg Harbor Road and the buildings there of the downtown. It's really cool. It looks great. It dresses up the back of the building so you're not just looking at the back of a building.
Right.
Put lights on either side that mirror the lights that are on the other side and front of the building, decorative lighting. So it's no longer just sort of an afterthought. So I think they did a nice job with it.
I agree. I
Yeah.
thought it was really neat up close to see it. I didn't get up and touch it because I didn't think that would be appropriate. But I thought of like the kids who like to go out and get Instagrammable moments. This would be a really fun thing to do, a good location. It's clear that this organization really wants to embed themselves in the Hamilton community.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I'm going to date myself with this story, but across the street, down a bit and on Orchard, is the former Maz Root Beer.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, riding my bike around and just exploring the town, back then you could do that. I ran into Carol Farinelli in her office, and one summer we watched them paint, and it's still there on the back of Town Pharmacy. The "Have Your Blood Pressure Checked" mural that is on the back of that building, and we watched it from primer to it being painted one summer. It just was fun, but just a memory. Now that's got to be more than 40 years ago,
Oh, wow.
but it's right there. It's still there. So if
Yeah.
you go down Orchard Street, you look to your right now, behind the urgent care, this mural, and you can see that kind of Town's Pharmacy, "Have Your Blood Pressure Checked." It's a big arm. Getting it. That's all it is.
I would love to see a giant mural painted on the side of what I call Shirley Grasso's building, the corner of Bellevue Avenue and Egg Harbor Road, that big white building.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see a gorgeous mural painted there. I would think, and I don't know how it would translate, but something from when President Reagan visited, although that could be controversial.
What's interesting about that is that for 10 or 15 years after Reagan visited, it had up there, "Welcome to President Ronald Reagan to the blueberry capital of the world," something like that, September 19th, 1984. It was painted for his arrival, and then it was up
Yep.
there until I was in high school, sometime in the mid-90s.
What was ironic was he never saw it because he drove in, obviously, the other way. He came in
Okay.
via the White Horse Pike to 54.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
He never saw it because the crowd was there. The crowd of 25,000 people was at the intersection of Egg Harbor and 54 and Bellevue Avenue all the way down to Central.
Yeah,
So he
and then
came the other way.
when he left, I believe he went down Peach and Passmore, because I grew up on Passmore. We were like, we could have just stayed home and seen him a whole lot closer.
Yeah, that's right. People got waved at, but these murals do dress up, and signage. If it doesn't have to be a mural, if you want to replace the President Reagan signage, you could do that. I guess there's windows there now that weren't there,
Yeah.
so you got to modify it. But like even the Maz Root Beer office that I said now has the signage repainted on it, Maz Root Beer logo and Jockey Club beverages. So there's just in that even that little intersection of Second and Orchard, there's three different
Kind of morals,
buildings.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened to the mural that was on the side of Wendy's.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
a
we
great
helped
question.
organize that one. John
Yeah.
Toothman.
Maybe,
Toothman.
maybe John Toothman knows. He might know. I hate to think that went into a dumpster.
Oh, me too.
I mean,
That
that was a
was
neat
gorgeous.
postcard
Yeah.
mural.
Welcome to
I don't
Edgewater
know.
Park style, yeah.
I don't know if anyone knows what happened to the mural that was on the side of the Wendy's on the White Horse Pike, the former Wendy's now. Let us know because we would love to know where the heck that thing is.
I think it'd also be nice to, if we can't have the one for Reagan, then maybe something for the Mount Carmel, the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. It's the longest running Italian American festival in the United States. It's our 150th. Again, something like that that is so
Or
Mhm.
agriculture. You could do like a
Yes.
cornucopia. There was a rendering years ago, 40 years ago, whatever it was. I might be off on that, but of that intersection. And most of it now has come to fruition with the streetscapes and the
Oh, like
better,
the Main
yeah,
Street
the
one?
Main
Yeah.
Street vision
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the better fencing on the railroad tracks and all
Yeah.
this. And it had a mural of a sort of a cornucopia of fruit on the side of that building. So maybe something like it doesn't have to be that, but it could be something agricultural, I think would
Fair
be
enough.
nice. Why not?
To better see these murals, the three of us need glasses. And Gabe,
We sure do.
where do you recommend we go for glasses in Hamilton?
And listen, I tell everybody, and I do. I tell people ask me all the time. They're like, "Where do you get your glasses? The glasses look great." And I always say, Hamilton Family Eye Care for routine and medical eye care for all ages, from glasses to contacts to eye exams and more. Visit Hamilton Family Eye Care at Peachtree Plaza, 80 South White Horse Pike in Hamilton. Call 609 567 7479 or go to HamiltonFamilyEyeCare.com. They have a full range of frames and you can get your eyes examined there and everything you need for better vision. So Hamilton Family Eye Care is the place to go, Gina.
Thanks, Gabe. Egg Harbor City has led the way in a lot of ways, in my opinion, for sustainable practices, really engaging the community with the best practices for environmental matters. And I saw they had online a whole slate of activities that are coming up for the spring. Joe, can you give us a couple highlights?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. There's quite a bit. They call it their Spring Environmental Series. On Saturday, April 12th at 10 a.m. at Egg Harbor City Hall, they're having the Pinelands Flora and Fauna to learn what the Pinelands National Reserve is all about. On Friday, April 25th, from 3 to 6 p.m. at Peace Pilgrim Park is their Arbor Day celebration. Free trees, children's activities, photo contest winners, vendors, food truck, and more. And Saturday, May 3rd at 10 a.m., they're having their community cleanup day at the Egg Harbor City Firehouse with barbecue and awards at 11 a.m. at City Lake Park Pavilion. May 10th, they're having a rain barrel workshop at the City Lake Park Pavilion. May 24th, they're having a mountain laurel walk. Mountain laurel walk at City
Nice.
Lake Park Nature Trail. It's a 2-mile walk, and that's at 10 a.m. And then on May 31st at 10 a.m., also at Peace Pilgrim Park, they're having their potting party where you can bring your own pot. And I assume they
What
mean
kind of
like a
pot,
flower
Joe?
pot.
Wait, flower pot.
Yes,
Flower pot.
bring your own flower
I
pot.
mean, yeah,
Yeah,
let's not go
and
off the
they
rails.
supply the soil, flowers, and herbs for small container garden.
That's
So
fun.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So there's a lot going on in Egg Harbor, which I think it's neat.
I agree. It's also almost Easter season, let's be honest. We're almost there and we're starting to see all the Easter related events. And one of the best ones I think for families is a train ride. And we are so lucky in town to have Tony McCree be a Hamiltonian. I have to be honest with you. He's just a neat, and I mean that in the way it sounds. He is neat, that old school way of talking. Huge Beatles fan, used to be a disc jockey for a million years, but he loves trains the way that I think most boys do, and he never grew out of that. So he
No.
has the Cape May Seashore Lines, and they do an Easter Bunny Express. This is the 29th season doing it. You bring your family, you bring the kids, you get on the train, and the Easter Bunny just wanders the train. You get to have photos with him. You take a ride from Richland to Tuckahoe and then back. It's just a very controlled environment. It's not chaotic, it's well organized. Plus, you get to be on a giant old school train. These are vintage trains from a bygone era. And this is happening for 3 days later this month, Saturday, April 12th, Saturday, April 13th, and Saturday, April 19th. Again, this is owned by Tony McCree from Hamilton. It's the Cape May Seashore Lines. Check it out online for more details and tickets. But again, Hamiltonian doing something super cool a couple towns over. And as I say, it's for kids.
It is for kids. And again, how many people do you know, not just from Hamilton, anywhere, who own their own train? It's not like a scale model, or it's not like
No.
some it's a
No.
train on tracks. It's huge. And these kids, I've seen it. The families just love it. And they love going on that train. And we've been on
We've
it.
done it a couple times. No kids, but we've done
Yeah.
it. We've met Santa Claus. We did a Valentine's Day one.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
I was on the Halloween Express a couple of years ago. That was a good time.
Were you dressed as Dracula? I believe you were.
I may have been dressed as Dracula, yes.
Yeah,
Now that
that's
you've
great.
ruined the magic and you parted the veil, yes, that was me. I was Dracula. And
Nobody thought you were Dracula, John. I don't know that we really threw you under the bus there.
no, but I will say that there were a couple of little kids who honestly thought that I was indeed the Prince of Darkness, which I enjoyed a great deal.
I'm sure you did.
I'm sure there's a few people in town who feel that way about you too.
Yeah,
just a few?
Yeah, even if you're not wearing the outfit, I think
Well,
there's a little bit of that Prince of Darkness in you.
I keep the cape and the amulet at the ready just in case.
That's good stuff. The point is that get on the train, go see Cape May Seashore Lines, Easter, all through the year. There's different events, and it's a great a day out, or sometimes an evening out, and with a great Hamilton connection through Tony McCree, which is fantastic.
And he's coming up on 30 years that he's had that. Just about next year, the year after, I think, is going to be 30 years that he's run it.
That's
Well, it's the 29th annual for the Easter. Yeah,
so it's coming up. It just goes to show the consistency, but not only that, the following that Cape May Seashore Lines and Tony McCree have. That's a great thing coming up. With your family, get out there, check it out.
In the positive note vein, I came across some information about a program that Atlantic County offers to help fix up homes. Joe, can you give us a little more detail?
Yeah, actually, if you'll bear with me for one moment here, it is called the Atlantic County Fix-It program from the Division of Intergenerational Services. It's available to county residents 60 years of age and older. No labor costs will be charged, but homeowner must pay for all materials used, which honestly isn't all that bad of a deal. Repairs and replacements of safety grab bars, wood handrails, locks, doorknobs, light bulbs, smoke detectors / batteries, wood steps, toilet parts, faucets, shower heads, etc. They don't do landscaping or shoveling or any major construction, but if you need help around the house with those things, they recommend calling. And if you have any questions, call them at 888-426-9243 or 609-645-5965. I think it's an absolutely fantastic program.
Yeah, it's like underreported. They don't brag about it. Maybe it's limited. I don't know. But when I found it, I was like, man, this could really help out a lot of our seniors who don't have the funds but need some basic things like safety grab bars in the bathroom, so essential.
Yeah.
Fixing your steps. As somebody who has wood steps, I think we've replaced one set twice outside now, Gabe.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh gosh, this is something. And to have that done for you, or even a light bulb.
Yeah.
Think about some of our elderly who are family members who live by themselves, asking them to change a light bulb. Do we really want someone who's 70, 80, 90 on the ladder by themselves? I don't think we do.
No. That's exactly where my concern was going to go. You're talking about I get leery on a stepladder changing a light bulb overhead. And if I don't know where I was going with that.
If you could get
Yeah.
help, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
You would take the
absolutely.
help.
So in 15
Yep.
years, Joe, you can get this help too.
All right.
Or now.
So like in 3 years, I can learn how to play pinochle at the canoe club, and then in
Right.
13 years, I'm eligible for this.
This is great. Joe
Yeah.
has his whole senior life planned out.
I
He
have
does.
things to look forward to.
And then his final resting place is all worked out as well, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's all mapped out, Joe. It's great.
So-
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Yep.
Hamilton neighbor is Vineland, just a couple towns over. We have a lot of shared history, I'll say. And I was reading about a new convention center there. And as someone who organizes booths and other related things for trade shows at convention centers, I was a little intrigued. It's a smaller size trade show. It's only going to convention center. It's only going to be 40,000 square feet. But it sounds like this could be an interesting economic development simulator for Vineland. Joe, can you tell us something about it?
Yeah, it is going to be located at the former Landis Marketplace at 631 East Landis Avenue, or for those of you with a longer memory, the site of the former J.J. Newberry 5 and Dime. That's how I knew it forever. That's where we would go there all the time, and I think I still have baseball cards from there. But it's going to be there. There's going to be a major overhaul of the building. It's supposed to open this fall. No clear date, but sometime this fall. As I understand, city council members agreed to seek a $2.66 million grant from the New Jersey Urban Enterprise Zone to cover the cost of the work. Now, what was neat, an idea that they had last year, which I think would have been awesome, they had originally looked into renovating the building into some sort of a movie studio in partnership with the Weekly World News. And I don't know how many of you remember the Weekly World News, but they were famous for Bat Boy,
Ed Anger.
Ed Anger, and the alien that met with just about every single presidential administration, starting, I think, with FDR. I'm not quite certain. And that would have fit right in South Jersey. But they decided to go in another direction, and they're going with a convention center, which is cool. And as I understand also, there was recently a release on Instagram put up by the Garden State Comic Fest, and they are going to have they're adding a new event to their calendar. And on November 15th and 16th of this year, Garden State Comic Fest will be heading to Vineland to be held in the convention center. So one of the very first events, or at least one of the first that have been announced, is a comic book convention. So that's
I know what
25
Joe and
minutes down
Gabe
the
are going
road.
to be doing November 15th and 16th.
Probably.
Depends on who's there. But
It does depend on who's there.
But I would say this. I think Vineland will probably bring out some people. Hamilton once had a Comic-Con.
Yeah, we had Neil Adams and we had Ernie Hudson here. What?
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
The guy from Firefly, he was in WKRP, I think, in Cincinnati. Tim Reed? I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was Venus Flytrap.
Yep. And Venus Flytrap. And Giancarlo Esposito was here.
What? Before he was famous. What?
No, he was famous.
Well, I mean, but he wasn't like...
Well, he didn't become the guy on Breaking Bad yet, no.
And then in Mandalorian, he was famous, but he wasn't a household name at the time.
No, you're right. And he was there for some, I think it was called Revolution or Evolution, some NBC show he was on.
You guys are the most adorable nerds ever.
What are you trying to say? We know our nerds. So hey, man,
should we get you guys a booth?
No, we don't need a booth for the Oddcast. Although the Oddcast would fit right in at a Comic-Con, I feel.
You guys would dress up however you want?
I don't know. I'm not into the cosplay, but that's...
Depending on the weather, maybe I'll go as Dracula.
Everybody's different. But...
Or I need to get a red shirt, but I could actually cosplay myself. Because there is a Star Trek novel by Dayton Ward and Kevin Dillmore, who I worked with years ago, and they actually named one of the characters Ensign Joseph Bernardo. So all I need is a red shirt, and I can go to any convention and cosplay as myself.
Where you will probably be killed and buried in Oak Grove Cemetery.
That's quite all right.
Everything just circles back.
The red shirts don't last long.
No.
Not on Star Trek. Not the original Star Trek.
Oh, by the way, we were playing Trivial Pursuit this weekend, and there was a question, and I got it right, and the answer was Star Trek.
Really? What was the question?
Gabe, do you remember what the question was?
I don't.
It was something like how this show wasn't popular.
Oh, that's what it was. The correct answer was right. The sequel to the show that was a dud became the most watched syndicated show in syndication history. And that was Star Trek The Next Generation. It absolutely redeemed the franchise. And Jesus, Star Trek The Next Generation, I'm like, yeah, that's it. I was shocked that you got that, Gina.
I was very proud of myself.
You are not a Trekker at all.
I picked it up through osmosis over the years with you too.
Yeah, surrounded.
Gabe, there's a lot happening. It's, like I keep saying, spring. What is going on for the Rocco's Townhouse community calendar?
Gina, Rocco's Townhouse prides themselves on being a spot where everyone can meet and eat. Delicious appetizers, entrees, burgers, and more, along with a full bar and plenty of craft beers on tap. Excuse me. Remember, everyone meets at the Townhouse, 21 North 3rd Street in Hamilton. Call them at 609-561-9384 or visit roccostownhouse.com. And Rocco's Townhouse is proud to sponsor the Rocco's Townhouse community calendar. After enjoying your afternoon at the Easter Extravaganza on Friday, April 18th, stop into Rocco's Townhouse for a delicious meal. The Easter Extravaganza will be held in downtown Hamilton. There will be kids' crafts visit with the Easter Bunny, egg drop, games, and a petting zoo. The event runs from 1 to 3 p.m. Also of note, this Sunday, April 13th, is Palm Sunday. Check your local church for service times. St. Mary of Mount Carmel Parish will be hosting a breakfast from 9 a.m. to noon at St. Anthony's Church. The Easter Bunny will arrive at 10 a.m. and egg hunt begins at 11:30 a.m. outside. Hamilton Independent Volunteer Fire Company No. 2 will be hosting its annual fish fry dinner fundraiser on Friday, April 11th, beginning at 5 p.m., $25 per platter. The Easter Bunny will be flying into Apron Cafe on Saturday, April 19th at around 12:30 p.m. Reservations are at 11:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. Grab a picture of the bunny outside the cafe located at the airport. And more information on all these events can be found online, Gina.
It's going to be a really busy spring. I feel it already. We have another big event coming up, and this one is in partnership, I believe, with our Hamilton Police Department. And Gabe, can you tell us a little bit about this walk and run that's coming up?
I can, Gina. It's the Seany Shoe Hands Run. Join Hamilton's Autism Support Squad. It's Sunday, April 27th at Hamilton Lake Park. It's the Seany Shoe Hands 5K and 1 mile hero walk for autism. There'll be free train rides, music. You can come see Tater Tot. There's a $25 entry fee. You register at tnteventmanagement.com. Registration begins at 9:30 a.m. The race and walk start at 10:30 a.m. There's a special $5 entry fee for police, first responders, military, students, and teachers. And there's a free t-shirt with entry while supplies last. This is a really nice event. It supports a great cause. And I think it's something that everybody should get behind because a lot of families that have been touched with this in one way or another, this is a great way to support and to show up and be with the community and support everybody who and the families who have kids who have and even older children who have autism.
Yeah, it's a busy weekend that weekend for Hamilton. So after you go to the walk, run, you can also stop by the Christopher Sacco Food Drive, which is the 26th and 27th. Hamilton takes care of its own, and we take care of the community. These are two events that are very special. They're run by the parents, and they're very passionate about these programs. Please check them out. Again, two fantastic events on the same day, April 27th. Joe, I think you covered the walk run, didn't you, one year?
I didn't cover it, but I did interview Sean Grasso, who
Okay, that's what it was.
who created and spearheaded, and it derives its name from a character in a comic book that Sean wrote that I believe was inspired. I think the character may have been inspired by or created by his son. So that's where it derives its name. The superhero was named Shawnee Shoehands. And so they took that name and used that to really brand, for lack of a better word,
Right.
the whole event.
And I've read the comic book. It's excellent. That was really something we've not seen before, maybe even or since. But I think it again raised awareness and was really well done.
Speaking of special moments, there was a unique moment. I'm going to say the word unique in DC this week with last week with Senator Cory Booker, where he filibustered for more than 25 hours. I was in St. Louis for work. I kept opening up, to be honest, TikTok, and I kept seeing him live. And I was like, how long is he going to go for? And of course, I was like, how is he using the restroom? Turns out he just dehydrated himself.
Yeah.
But that was my question about it. It was impressive, and it really was a like Hollywood moment because all three of us are West Wing fans, and we all thought of the Stackhouse filibuster moment. You guys brought up another movie. What'd you say, Joe?
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, one of Jimmy Stewart's defining moments in Hollywood.
I'm more of a Harvey fan, but okay.
With the rabbit that you can't see,
I love
invisible rabbit.
Harvey.
Hello,
Okay.
Mr. Dodds. That's pretty good too. That Harvey features in Field of Dreams, one of my favorite movies. And Kevin Costner tells his daughter, turn that off. That man is very sick, which is hysterical because he's listening to ghosts and things like that to build a field. But hey, look, politics, where we are now, a lot of things are happening that we are unusual, that we don't normally see on every side, whatever side you're on. But that it stood out, right? Because filibusters don't happen that often
No.
for a lot of reasons. And when the Stackhouse filibuster and Jimmy Stewart with Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, they almost inevitably they show the guy like hoarse and nearly collapsing. And Cory Booker was up there a long time, and he certainly drew a lot of attention to himself, and I think to his cause. But I think the question is, in the long run, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, want to see what the impact is of that action. I don't know.
Given the ever rotating news cycle, it seems that nothing really lasts all that long in the public consciousness past the next commercial break. But at the very least, he broke the previous filibuster record set by Strom Thurmond, who also, I believe, holds the record for being the oldest and most continuously elected senator of all time. I believe he was 5,000 years old when he died after being elected by Pope
I
Gregory.
think you might be a little high on that number.
He was 100 years
He
old.
was old.
He was a
old.
day.
He was
And-
old. He was up there. He didn't filibuster for 100 years, but he was 100. He might have been. He was up there. But you're saying Booker beat that record by Strom Thurmond?
And that record was set, I believe, in 1963 or 1964 when Strom Thurmond was filibustering against the Civil Rights Act. And so here we are. That was a record that was held for 60 years.
Mhm.
Even if what Senator Booker did has zero impact in the long run, he got into the history books.
Well, and he got Gina to stop rifling through TikTok for 5 seconds.
That
hey, here's Cory.
Yeah.
That might be the bigger feat.
According
Yours
to
is good too.
According to his website, whatever it might be, it was 25 hours and 5 minutes. There was 1,164 pages of prepared material. More than 200 stories from New Jerseyans and Americans across the country shared in the speech. There were more than 28,000 voicemails of encouragement left on Senator Booker's main office line. By the way, how much space is that taking up on the digital recordings?
Oh, my word.
28,000 voicemails. 300,000 plus the largest number of people viewing Senator Booker's live stream across his platform at once. Again, this is a monumental moment. New Jersey looked good And regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, we look strong as a state that we had the ability to do this, to stand up for something that someone believes in. And I think this is going to be very beneficial, not to be negative or cynical, for Booker's eventual reelection campaign, because politicians are always looking to be reelected.
Well,
This is going to help, and the publicity, it didn't really cost him anything other than maybe a little bit of his health.
one would argue when you're making national news like this, you may have aspirations beyond just being reelected to the office you're in. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yep.
Because I think that's something Senator Cory Booker has always, I think, been around. But that's fine. Look, I look at it from the political junkie standpoint. We all love this stuff for the same reason that in sports, you like it when somebody goes on a hitting streak that's 30, 40 games. You're like, when's it going to end? This is, so I think it's intriguing beyond partisan politics. It's intriguing if you're just interested in politics. So that's why a lot of people were talking about it and watching it when he did it.
I don't think there was a Donatello Moss or a CJ Craig looking to help give him relief in the White House on this. But I will say that is such a great episode of The West Wing. It is worth watching.
You're talking about the Stackhouse filibuster.
Stackhouse filibuster, much shorter than Senator Booker's own
right,
filibuster.
But if you want to binge watch it on a loop for 25 hours to get the feel, just keep it going.
Yeah, you do a season and a half, you'll be able to do 25 hours of The West Wing, which I highly recommend and have almost done at times.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a good comfort show.
Yeah.
But we all need that sometimes.
Yep.
Easter dinner's coming up. Now, I have different traditions for Easter than I think both of you do. So I'm going to pose this question for our Odd Poll question of the week. And oddballers, please let us know how you eat for Easter dinner. I'll leave it that way. Are you ham people, lamb people, or something else for your Easter dinner? Joe?
We're ham people. Yeah, we're definitely ham people.
Eat your damn ham, Tina.
Nice. That is a Napoleon Dynamite reference.
Yes, it was.
If you are playing at home. We've eaten lamb. I think lamb has been eaten when I was a kid. I don't know. I guess we had ham sometimes too. And we had marshmallow peeps as well. But that wasn't for dinner.
Yeah.
That wasn't for dinner. But it depends on the person. I never had that mint jelly.
You never had that with lamb?
No.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. It complements it wonderfully.
Does it?
Yeah, I'm a lamb person, but we don't do lamb on Easter. And yeah, it's just a tiny little bit of mint jelly on the lamb. Fantastic.
So we were lamb, especially as a child. It was strictly lamb, always.
What do you feel when you have lamb, Gina?
Lamb is delicious.
Does she say something?
No, I don't. And my Aunt Vera.
I feel like that's not true.
There is a thing.
There is not a thing.
She's not going to do it.
So my Aunt Vera in Ozone Park used to always make our Easter dinner when we were little kids, and it was the best, and it was my favorite. But I will say this, growing up in Queens, perhaps in the front yards of the properties, especially in the more Italian and the Greek, there may be some goats or lambs in the front yards, and they weren't there after Easter and Greek Easter. So those things happen. But again, lamb for Easter.
I don't know what goes on in Queens.
This is a million years ago when I was a little kid. I don't think they do that anymore.
That happened in Hamilton too. Like my neighbor growing up, he'd have this cute little pet pig, and then one day he'd come around with bacon for us. Or when the pig wasn't there, or he had a cow that used to escape into our driveway, and he had another cow that actually escaped onto the expressway. And then one day he had a whole side of beef for us. So Ferdinand was delicious. What are you going to do?
Well, these are the stories of my childhood that my parents have always told. And this was in the city, not in the rural area of Hamilton. So I will say it's a little different.
I have to say, you don't often hear, oh, I walked past somebody's future Easter dinner in the yard in front of the house. In Hamilton, we have chickens, and there are some other larger farm animals, but I don't know. But I do want to mention it. I think this is a great time to mention this on a separate note. If you're going to have your Easter dinner, There's one place you have to shop, and I think that is Bagley Andy's Market,
Absolutely.
where they always say we treat our customers like family. With a variety of custom cut meats, farm fresh produce, delicious cheeses, a full deli, and more, Bagley Andy's Market has something for everyone. They are famous for their wide variety of authentic Italian specialty products. Try their Italian bread and rolls, prepared foods, and homemade pasta. Follow their social media for weekly loyalty reward promos. Bagley Andy's Market is located at 417 12th Street in Hamilton. Call 609 561 0693 or visit Facebook and Instagram for more information.
Bagley Annie's also has those giant chocolate eggs, the Italian ones with the beautiful wrapping. I hope to see one of those in my Easter basket.
No.
Anyway, just saying.
It's as big as your Easter basket. I'm going to have to put it to the side of it.
Hamilton's in the Pinelands, and Gabe and I have both read, and I'm not sure if Joe has, The Pine Barrens by John McPhee.
When I was a kid.
And he wrote in the book, I was in the pines because I found it hard to believe that so much wilderness could still exist so near the big eastern cities. And this book was published in 1968, and it explores the people, the history, the culture, and of course, the flora fauna of the pines. And this was during a time when there was a crazy plan, in my opinion, to really develop the heart of the pines. And he writes about this. According to the Pinelands Preservation Alliance, John McPhee is now going to donate all of his
royalties
to the Pinelands Preservation Alliance going forward. And all current and future from all versions and editions of the Pine Barrens to the Pinelands Preservation Alliance will be donated. And it's just a overwhelming sense of generosity and love that I feel that McPhee has for this special place in the world. What do you guys think?
I can tell you from my end, that book was one of the books I read that made me want to be a journalist because of the fact that when I was reading it, which would have been the late 80s, the Pinelands Commission had already been put in place. The National Reserve had already been put in place. This was all suggested in the essays that became this book. The essays were in the New Yorker magazine. And at the time, it was considered it was going to go the total other way, with a 250,000 person city based in Chatsworth, with a jet port bigger than Newark, Idlewild, and LaGuardia combined, supersonic jets flying in and out of there. And this was all touted. And McPhee basically wrote, I guess this thing is doomed. But he knew what he was writing. And as a true journalist, he basically said, unless he doesn't write unless you do something about it, but it's implied. And then the New Yorker at that time was such an influential magazine that people did something about it. And so we now live in it. If this guy doesn't write that book, if he doesn't write the essays, they don't become the book. I think it's a very different landscape just north of us. It's completely different. And look, you need only go up 206. This is the last point, and see the warehouses that have been built and other things on either side of 206 as you go toward the turnpike. That could have been the whole of that in the Pines. So that's how I feel about it.
Joe?
No, I'll sign off on that. Like I said, I haven't read the book. I remember buying it when I was a child at Batstow. I bought that and a book about the Jersey Devil. I believe that I was 8, 9 years old. So I'm like, ooh, I'll buy both of these.
Yeah,
and
two good selections though. If it's the book about the Jersey Devil, I'm thinking of.
It was the one with the red cover, and then the Pine Barrens, that edition had the green cover. And I remember reading it and being absolutely fascinated by it. But what I find interesting about this is that I frequently find myself using hackneyed phrases, and I do apologize for that. But talk about
real nice,
legitimately putting your money where your mouth is. Not only he cared enough to write these pieces when he did that had the transformative influence that it did, but now all future proceeds from any variation or copies of this material are going to an organization that is designed to do what it says. It is the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. So he's donating whatever money from this book that helped create this whole idea to preserve it. And I think that is absolutely admirable.
Yeah. Hats off to John McPhee and for all that he's doing to help preserve the Pinelands. Speaking of development, which is what the Pinelands have prevented, we have seen the start of a possible redevelopment of a property on the Whitehorse Pike. Gabe, can you tell us about that?
I was driving down the Whitehorse Pike near the intersection of Broadway earlier this week, and I noticed the demolition had begun in earnest of the former Gulf gas station that was there. I call it that because it was the most prominent thing. I think the Adamucci's built that gas station, and their oil company was behind it for many decades. It's going to be gone if it's not completely gone by now. And that's going to be a parcel that gets something new on it. That intersection has seen a tremendous amount of change. You have the end of the car dealership portion for the most part, for Arenas, formerly Buick GMC. So new car dealership, no more. And now you have this change. So that is a heavily traveled intersection that I think is going to see some great change shortly. But that's just noticing it earlier this week.
That was Sophia's gas station, wasn't it?
Sam Sophia's,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I remember when I bought my first car on my own as an adult, and it was a used car. And my parents, who lived in New York, were like, "You need to get it checked out. Is there someone you can trust?" I was very close with Millicent Sophia, and she's like, "You can go to my husband. He'll check it out. Make sure this car is a good one for you to buy." And I did. I brought it down there. I had him look at it, have him evaluate it to make sure it was going to be okay for me to buy and to use my hard-earned adult money, if you will. And he did that for me. I don't think he charged me, or if he did, it was very little for him to do this inspection and let me know. So I was always very appreciative of Sam and what he did there. Unfortunately, the building has gone into disrepair since he closed his business. He was a tenant there. And I'm happy to see that it's going to be cleaned up. I'm curious to see what it's going to be and to make sure it's going to be a good fit for the town.
Yeah.
But again, nice memories of Sam Sophia taking care of me when I was just like 20, 21, something like that.
Yeah, and you felt you could trust him, and you did.
Yeah, and I had that car until I got a really cool Mustang.
It was an Oldsmobile Alero. True.
Yeah, I bought it used. Yeah, and then I bought my first new car, which was a Mustang. That's when I was cool. It was like a minute of when I was cool. If you blinked, you missed my coolness.
That car was nice, a black Mustang.
That was a fun one.
Sharp car.
New Jersey, again, is an odd and wonderful place. And for odds and ends this week, I looked for something that made me smile. And in 2010, in November, students and staff at the Lawrenceville School, and that's just outside of Trenton, if you will, they broke the Guinness Book World Record for the biggest custard pie fight. So they had a ginormous custard pie fight that set the record. And I believe at the top of the participation rate was 671 active participants in this custard pie fight.
Oh my.
I have never been in a pie fight, never want to be in one. But that's a pretty fun thing to know about New Jersey that we accomplished, and we did it at a school.
That is pretty cool.
It's interesting that you bring this up because yesterday I was reading about Jack Lemmon in the Amazing Race, the Great Race, the Amazing Race, and where they have I think it was like a 4 or 5 minute custard pie fight, and it took 5 days to film because people kept getting injured. Jack Lemmon described being hit in the face from a flying custard pie as like being hit in the face with wet cement. Actually knocked him out at one point.
Yeah, because they're launching these things at you. When I think of custard pie fights, I think of two different things. One is a television show, one is a movie. The television show is Moonlighting. There was a custard pie fight in Moonlighting that was great. And the movie is Bugsy Malone. Because Bugsy Malone has one of the great use of pies with the splurge guns and with the actual pies. And then in the end, there's this huge nightclub scene where there's a gigantic custard pie fight. Bugsy Malone, Scott Baio, a forgotten classic, but my brothers and I all watched it. So, do you know this movie, Bugsy Malone?
Yeah, they were all kid gangsters.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was all.
Didn't we go see like an amateur production of it in town or something one time?
There might have been one on
Really?
stage. I don't know who staged it, but Hamilton Town Drama or one of those.
Maybe I feel like we did. I think I think you and I watched the movie ahead of time so that I could be prepared for it, so that I would understand it.
Yeah. Did you understand it? Okay. Was that?
I don't really understand custard pie fights, but that's fine.
They're funny.
So but at the end of the day, this one's the record holder now.
Yep, it's from Lawrence. It happened in Lawrenceville School, and that's in Central Jersey, right outside of Trenton, and Princeton, Lawrenceville. 671 active participants. They did not say how much pie there was, but I imagine it's an awful lot.
I would imagine it's at least 671 pies. I would hope. Otherwise, somebody was wildly unprepared.
Yeah.
That
would be. They better have the ammo, like in Bugsy Malone. Jodie Foster also in that movie.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's right.
I guess I know you guys will be streaming this weekend.
I don't know.
Probably not. No,
not going to watch that one. Knuckles. Not going to watch that one.
Joe, you're going to be working with some students. Is it going to be a pie fight in your future?
I should hope not, because if so, then I'm going to have to be the one to clean it. Yeah, the cemetery is actually going to be having a field trip with fourth grade students on Thursday, April 10th, I believe, to learn about the Salem Oak. We had participated in an assembly last week on April 1st. It was not on April Fool's prank. Myself, Dan Pachalis from the Hamilton Environmental Commission, and Barbara Neary Bachalis from the Hamilton Historic Preservation Commission, and also Marty Matro and Angela Donio were present but didn't partake in the assembly. We talked to the kids, the fourth graders, about the importance of the Salem Oak, the history of it, and the history of the Quakers and the Lenape. And now on the 10th, they're going to be coming out to see the tree in person, which is going to be nifty. And the Hamilton Historic Preservation Commission is holding a poster contest for the kiddies that will go until sometime in May. And there's not a whole lot of guidance other than draw something related to what you've learned, and there will be prizes. Top 3 vote getters will each get t-shirts, and then first prize will be $100, second prize will be $50, and third prize will be $25. And let me tell you, when will not be fired. Yes, yeah,
they're children.
Second prize is a set of steak knives.
That's right. Third prize is you're fired.
Chocolate milk is for closers.
That's right. You don't get to have that chocolate milk. Put that chocolate milk down.
Sorry for the Glengarry Glen Ross reference. Sorry.
We are all over the place today. Yeah. But no, as soon as those kids heard cash money, their ears perked right up real quick, and they were like, "Okay, this is what I got to do. What now? Okay, it's about this. Yes, got it. Yeah.
We don't give the children steak knives, Gina, or a Cadillac.
Cut themselves. That's an important lesson. Yeah,
that's right. The lesson learned.
Is it going to be online? How are they going to get the coloring contest information? Sent home with them?
No, yeah, it's being sent home with them. Information was distributed to all of the fourth grade teachers to distribute in the classrooms.
And fourth grade is like is that when you do the state play or whatever it is?
They just finished up, I believe, learning about the Lenny Lenape, because fourth grade is when you do New Jersey state history in general.
Perfect tie-in.
Yeah, tied right in with it. It's right before Arbor Day, so the whole thing just worked very well. And it's my hope that something like this becomes an annual thing, just like with the third graders. They have their annual Arbor Day assembly and a separate poster contest. Some years they've distributed trees and so forth.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will become a regular thing for the fourth graders as well.
Gabe and I went to the dedication of the Salem Oak in November of 2024. And I don't know what I was expecting, and this is me having unrealistic expectations, but I was expecting more of a tree. But I know it takes a long time, and Salem Oak didn't happen overnight. So I'm just kind of like,
that's what struck you?
Yeah.
I thought you were expecting more of a tree. How about the fact that all these people showed up to look at that sapling? I was like, geez. Yeah. I said, there's like dozens and dozens of people here for this thing.
Yeah, there were
a lot of people.
50
Yes.
people on a Saturday who showed up for a dedication ceremony for a tree in a cemetery. I'd call that a victory.
Yeah, I
I
think
was
that's a
there.
win.
Yeah.
That's a
And,
win for you and Oak Grove.
I'm
and
admitting to my own
yeah.
ignorance about how big the tree would be.
Well,
Well,
what
I
did you
mean,
think?
to be fair, when at the time Public Works Manager Bob Batiste went to Trenton in 2021 to get the tree, he was expecting bigger also. He drove his pickup truck because he's like, all right, I'm going to get the Salem oak. They handed him a 6x9 padded envelope. He's like, what's
Right.
this? They're like, that's the Salem oak.
Yeah,
It
good
was
luck.
a 6-inch stick with 3 hair roots. So the fact that in 3 years it grew from
Yeah.
6 inches to 7 feet, I'm not sure what the guys over at the Public Works were feeding that thing,
I
but
don't.
they did their job.
I know, but still, my personal favorite is the fence around it, which I feel is aspirational. I, I'm like, I think it's going to take a while to
Oh
get
yeah,
anywhere near the perimeter of that fence. But it looks good. When you drive by, you say to yourself, there's that Salem oak.
yeah,
And
and
that's a good thing.
Like
people
7 generations from now, it'll be as
Yeah.
impressive as the one in Salem was.
and
That's
people stop and they take pictures and they look at the signage. It's extraordinary. There's usually 1 to 2 visitors a week who stop specifically to see the tree.
see,
That's very cool. I look forward to seeing the results of the coloring contest and finding out who the winners are. Joe, for your field trip this week, will the students have good weather? What's happening?
Since you asked, it sounds like it is time for the Oddcast Forecast, according to the app on my smartphone, and sponsored by Ben Castone Landscaping. Call Ben Castone for all your landscaping needs at 609 561 3452. They're here to keep your yard looking great no matter what the season. And I gotta be honest with you, the weather is not overly pleasant this week, but it looks like the kiddies may be in luck. Wednesday is the only day of the week that doesn't have any chance of precipitation, at least at the moment, though it is going to be cool and cloudy with a high of 51 and a low of 34. Thursday, it's going to be partly cloudy during the day with rain in the evening, so we should be fine for the field trip. We're looking at a high of 53 and a low of 44. And then on Thursday, we're looking at a possibility of rain all day with a high of 59 and a low of 47.
Thanks, Joe. This was one heck of an entertaining episode, I'm not going to lie.
I'm entertained.
Yeah, we really were kind of all over the place. That's how we do.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling a little punchy, I'm not going to
All right.
lie.
That's okay. With a little gingerbread on the house never hurt anybody.
Fair enough.
No, I'm enjoying this chit chat. So
If people want to get in touch with us and let us know how we're doing, what is the best way for them to contact us?
I don't know about the best way, but there are a multitude of ways. For information or for sponsorship opportunities, they can find us on Facebook or Instagram. To listen to us, they can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or iHeartRadio. Or they can email us at jerseyoddcast@gmail.com or call us at 609 444 6178.
Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
week.